Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Good morning, everyone. Alex Juarez here. You're listening to 1190 AM AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. And this is a beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning. We're very excited. It's a day that's going to be extremely busy for us. We have the radio show, and then we have the community painting day. We have a press conference and the unveiling of the mural that our local artist, David Murrieta, is doing. Very excited about what we're doing with the program, David. Last week we talked about Hispanic by the numbers, the importance of Latinos in mass, but the voice that we need to represent. And I think one of the items that came out of it, a common denominator, was education. And today's show is dedicated to education. We have a group of amazing, amazing individuals and experts in the field of education. We have Dr. Gabriel Escontrias. We have Rosemary Ibarra Hernandez. Devin Del Palacio is going to be joining us via phone. Adam Lopez as well is joining us here today, and Dan Martinez, our president of AARP. So thank you, everyone, for joining. David, how are you doing today?
I feel really, really happy. Like you said, two events today, the radio show plus the painting. And you know, the two items that I would like to highlight, the painting, we're going to have portray on that mural Governor Castro. We're going to have Congressman Pastor. We're going to have Post 41, and Commander Luis Garcia is going to join us. I spoke with him yesterday. And then we're going to have Chapito Chavarria, who is, I'm told that he basically played, in every wedding, Latino weddings, he used to play. And like you said, Alex, the thing that was highlighted in our previous program in Hispanic by the Numbers is that education. Yeah. So, before the program started, Dr. Escontrias and I were talking about how we want to devote a lot of time to this matter. Let me start with Adam, because Adam is the manager of HLI, Hispanic Leadership Institute. I had met you before, but I've had the opportunity and the pleasure actually to knowing you for this many weeks. It's a 20-week program. I am in the program, and I'm enjoying it very, very much. And every time I hear Adam engage, and especially in education, I could sense the passion. And besides, you're a board member for the Alhambra district. And may I ask you to kind of tell us from the very top to the very bottom, how is education structured in terms of leadership from the very top to the bottom? If you don't mind, please use that mic and speak close to the mic. Thanks, Adam.
So I'll talk in relation to K-12 education in Arizona and public education, because that's what I know best. It would go essentially from like the governor's office and the control he has over it down to the superintendent of public instruction and state board of education, which have a lot of the leadership power of schools statewide. From that point, it'll go down to the county superintendents of instruction and the education service agencies in each county. Below that would be the actual school boards itself, which would represent all, it's like 268 or so districts in Arizona that are public school districts, as well as charter schools, which have to have governing boards as well, whether they're just one school or a system of schools. And then it would be the superintendents and the individual school leadership. So there's a few steps going from the top to bottom.
Can you mention at least that the federal leader that we have currently, and then the state, the top leaders at the federal and at the state levels,
so
by name?
Federally right now, our Secretary of Education is Betsy DeVos, and locally our Superintendent of Public Instruction is Diane Douglas.
Got it. Devin, are you on the line? Devin Del Palacio. First of all, welcome to the radio program, and I am so glad that you're able to join, even though by phone. Can you tell us a little bit how critical is leadership when it comes to education? How much decision-making power do they have to shape the way Arizona, the way education is implemented?
Yeah, having the right leadership is critically important. And not just the leadership, it's leadership that reflects the demographics of our school system. We have 1.1 million students here in the state of Arizona. 44% are Latinos. So how many of our leaders do we have in positions that are shaping policies to ensure that demographic is successful? That should be the question that we look at and that we discuss, because that's a critical one. When we talk about leadership that understands the demographics and the culture, it's imperative to have folks in those seats of influence to be able to shape the policies necessary to help our students achieve.
Now, leaders at what level and how? What can be done to encourage more Latinos? Is it about the Latinos that they're not running for those positions, or what? How can we get more Latinos to leadership positions?
Well, I think a lot of it is just education, right? Educating our community, and I think even my friend Adam does a great job in doing that with HLI, getting folks together to find their passion and their natural leadership abilities, so we can have people run for these positions. We need school board members. We need state legislators. All those folks are very critical, but more so, school board members. School board members are the driving force behind K through 12 education policy, and it's that K through 12 demographic in which we can truly make or break a student. And oftentimes, with school board elections, you can't find nobody to run for these positions because you're not these positions are not compensated. And so a lot of times there's so many vacancies. And when there's vacancies to be had, that means those seats are being filled with folks that usually don't reflect that demographic or that aren't too knowledgeable around education policy. And that trickles down into the classroom. So school board members play a critical role, and we must do a better job at recruiting more Latinos or more folks from the community to run for those school board positions, for sure.
Thank you, Devin. And just I need to mention that Devin Del Palacio is the vice president, a board member of the Tolleson Union High School District. Dan Martinez?
Yes. At a different level in public education, David, we have, for example, the Maricopa Community College system made up of 10 campuses. That also has a governing board. They are elected. Some of them serve by district. Others serve as general representatives. We have good leadership there, but their terms expire, so we need to be growing some more leaders at that level. Maybe someone else can speak to the Board of Regents for the colleges and universities that exist in the state.
Yeah, and the three state universities, as you know, we have Arizona State University, Northern Arizona University, and University of Arizona, and they are run by the Arizona Board of Regents, which are appointed officials through the governor. Mm-hmm. So we have three presidents that work heavy with the ABOR, and that's a lot of the decision-making, a lot of the advocacy that goes back and forth between the presidents, institutions, and then their governing board.
Absolutely. And something very important here that Devin mentioned, we need to get Latinos into board positions. There's an organization in town, Aguila Youth, that's preparing these young leaders. Rosemary, can you tell us a little bit more about Aguila and what you're doing to prepare these students? You're doing an amazing job informing our new leadership coming up.
Thank you, Alex. And I really don't want to date myself, but I am a graduate of the first HLI cohort. And I am very, very proud of that.
All right.
Yes. What is really exciting to me is that I was from HLI and that my students are now graduates of HLI. So it really is important to encourage them to take part in these leadership participate in leadership opportunities that help them to grow. In fact, one of our students is now sitting on the Alhambra School Board District, Danari Ochoa Martinez. And then what's really very important is to increase Latino teachers in the classroom. Rafael Vasquez, who we recently honored, along with Danari, is teaching in the Alhambra School District. So every time I turn around, there's another Aguilita who has been through our program. We are high school, and we are now in 8th grade programs, too.
Rosemary, you've done a very good job for years to come, but you can't do this by yourself. how can the community support you? How can the corporations and public in general, or people that are listening to the show, how can we support Aguila?
Well, one of the things in particular right now we're getting ready for, and one of my students who is directing the annual symposium, this is our 10th year of having a 3-night, 4-day experience at ASU downtown, and we bring together 300 youth. Our students come back from all over the state. We have, to date, 105 universities that host our students across the country, with ASU as our stronghold. But they travel all over the world. July the 12th through the 15th, we will host these students at Arizona State University downtown. They need to eat. And I mean, maybe it doesn't sound, it's, come and make tortillas. I don't, but these children need to eat. It really, boggles my mind that they'll sleep late and eat maybe one time a day at home. But at the symposium, because it's so heavy, intense, they need to eat these 3 meals a day. And it will cost us, if we go through the university, $40,000. Wow. And so we need support. I can bring food in, or I can get some padrinos to sponsor it, like they sponsor the quinceañeras, the cake, the dance, whatever. They can help sponsor the meals for these children.
That's a great idea. Huh?
Yeah. And as I said earlier, we are going to be devoting a lot of efforts through this platform, the AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, to education. I mean, I'm already thinking maybe we should do like a summit, and we convene all the experts for education to just create more awareness in education. Now, one of the things that is being highlighted in this first segment is leadership. I think it's very obvious. The issue of leadership, we have identified 2 entities, one at the high school level, which is Aguila, an excellent program. I'm already talking about my son, to see if he can go to that program. And then this is before they hit college. And then after they graduate, right, Adam, that would be HLI. So we have these 2 amazing programs. Now, at the, don't we have the Cesar Chavez, that's called CC, is it
LI?
LI, that's another.
Chavez Leadership Institute at Arizona State University. In addition, we have programs like CompuGirls, that's run through the Center for Gender Equity in Science and Technology, and I happen to be the manager of that center. And we focus on young, underrepresented girls. And not only do we bring new technologies, we also make sure we instill the social justice component. But we also have the Joaquin Bustos Math Science Honors Program, which works with students all over the state, and it's an intense summer program that's just amazing and phenomenal results. And at the community college level, once you're there, before you're there, Hermanas, which is done through the Maricopa Community Colleges and also funded through Intel. And it's great ways to get our Latinas and our students involved in various programs.
Gabriel, you mentioned a very important topic there of Latinas. And I know, for example, last week we talked about the importance of Latinas in business, how much we've grown and the power of the Latinas in business. But students, how do we get those students involved in STEM, in classes that are going to take them into engineering, into medicine, into different things? So when we come back from this quick break, let's pick it up again from there. Let's talk about that, how we can get these Latina girls involved in those classes that are going to take them to the successful careers in engineering, medicine, you name it.
Wonderful.
We will be back in just a couple minutes. You're listening to 1190 AM, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome back. This is Alex Juarez. You're listening to 1190 AM, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Right before the break, we were talking about the importance of programs like Aguila and the Cesar Chavez Leadership Institutes, and Alhambra has great programs as well. But girls, how do we get those girls involved in these programs? How do we take them to the next level? David, let's pick it up from there.
Yeah, why don't we use let's talk about programs, but then if there's anything linked to girls, like ladies, young ladies, if you can stress that. But any programs that you think the community needs to know about, I think I love the word that you use, Adam, pipeline. I believe that this is such an important issue, education, that we need to create a pipeline that people, the community knows about, so they know which avenue they can follow. Take it away, Adam.
Well, I want to highlight a couple programs that Alhambra's doing. But first, I also want to mention the ASU Hispanic Mother-Daughter Program. That has been a huge program for us in Alhambra, where we're turning out, it's something like 60 young women and their mothers yearly that are going through that, being exposed to what it means to get into university and have those opportunities that those young women would have not necessarily known they would have. So that's one thing that's been really, really beneficial for us, and I know for public education and in public districts to have partnerships like that with high schools as well as with colleges and community colleges. So the transition from from K through 8 to high school and on up can be as smooth as possible to ensure that it is a really fun thing for the girls and the young people to go through. But a couple things that we've done in Alhambra, and I think this also goes back to the discussion of leadership as well, is that our community came to us as a board and asked for extracurricular activities to come back. They came to us and said, we need something for our kids to do after school. Because of the cuts that have come down from a state level, and because of the sacrifices we have to make sure that our schools are still well maintained, we have good buses, all that sort of stuff, we had to get rid of a lot of extracurricular activities. And so our board, along with our superintendent, Mark Islas, out in Alhambra, made a concerted effort to bring back extracurricular activities with a focus on physical activities such as sports, but also on STEAM programming, so the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but also with the inclusion of arts as part of it, because that's something that's really, really important, especially within the Latino community, to have that personal expression, is to have art as part of it. And that's something that we've been able to bring in through partnerships with corporations as well as with universities, to have those things in place for these kids that wouldn't have a chance to make a prosthetic arm and compete against national schools at national competitions, are able to do that. And we actually have our Mesa Club team at Montebello, which is 27th Avenue, just south of Bethany Home, that is going to the national competition for Mesa, which is the engineering teams, in Philadelphia this year. And a lot of these kids have never been on a plane. Some of them have never been downtown, and now we're putting them on a plane and sending them all the way to Philadelphia.
Great.
So there's a lot of those programs, and I think Devin could probably talk to it in the high school level.
And I was going to go to Devin. Can you share some information about programs that you are aware of?
You know what? Thank you. And to Adam's point, I think there's two components here. One component is public and private partnerships, whether it's our schools partnering with corporations and other nonprofits who have the curriculum for girls to get involved in STEM. But then also too, I think the other end is education on the parent side, right? I know we have a great partnership with ASU Film Academy, where we take our parents and educate them on different resources and tools and ways that can be more involved in their child's education. Because we also need parents and families to push our girls, to push our little niñas into fields of STEM, right? We need them to be encouraged at home as well, and they also need the support at home. So I think it's a two-pronged approach. Partnerships with our nonprofits and corporations, folks who are actually doing the real work, so we can, like Adam said, so we can expose our children to different things that maybe they might have never seen before, whether it's just visiting, the Intel campus or going to ASU's engineering program. We have to expose our students to things they've never seen before. But again, I believe if we want to see an increase with our Latinas and our girls getting involved with STEM, it's going to come from partnerships, but as well as educating on the family side with our parents.
Which is interesting, and I'm going to segue into this, is that we were recently awarded an Intel grant. And I just was in Los Angeles at the Intel Educator Academy, which was connected to the International Science Fair, with children coming from 78 countries with a science fair. It was wonderful. And it was beautiful to see my mentee, Maria Reyes. That was my student when I was the academic advisor for the College of Engineering at ASU, who is now the dean for the Phoenix College, and her mentee up on stage. So it was like 3 tiers of mentors. It was awesome. But what we were been awarded with Intel is to roll out a program. This is our program at Cartwright Elementary School, which we've been working with for 2 years now. And we will implement a program for girls, middle school girls and their parents, and an after-school program to promote STEM. 150 girls. And we're partnering with an organization that is national, international, actually it's all over the world. It's called Iridescent, which has a platform where they can go on to the website and build these projects out of everyday materials, and the idea is to spark their interest in STEM. Aguila has a holistic approach in that we do provide arts and writing and reading, all of those things as well. But what's important, too, is not only that we focus on girls, we also have a program for the young men, and that is the Aguila Men of Honor, which is a White House bright spot for the work that we do with our young men.
Thank you, Rosemary. Dan?
Yes, David. In regards to early exposure to leadership opportunities for our young men and women, there are some programs that are already out there. For example, Boys and Girl Scouts. Not too many Hispanics take advantage of that, but it's out there already and it's proven to work. In the field of agriculture, I'm from a farming community. We have the Future Farmers of America program, and we have the 4-H program that's open to both boys and girls. And then beyond that, in high school, you have the Boys and Girls State programs where kids are sent to learn more about leadership opportunities, and they can become student body officers and club officers. So there are programs out there that are already in existence that we need to take advantage of.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Escontrias.
No, just to add to all information that's being shared, I think the thing that we're really discussing is how can we collectively leverage our resources. So I think when we can really bring the community, we can bring the institutions together, bring the corporations together, I think that's a win. So one of the programs that we're launching through the center, the Center for Gender Equity in Science and Technology, we were awarded a $3 million grant through the U.S. Department of Education, an I-3 grant. But part of it is we had to reach out to our corporations and our partners here and raise an additional $450,000. So all those monies are now going to turn over into a program called CompuPower, and we're going to focus not just on schools here in metropolitan Phoenix and some of the charter schools, Phoenix Union High School and Tempe, but we're also going to work with rural Arizona. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to work with anywhere between 12 to 15 schools there and pilot this new program. And that's in addition to the program that we currently run, CompuGirls, really focused on girls of color, and that's funded through the National Science Foundation. But then we also have a grant through IMLS where now we're working with libraries. So when we think about where we can leverage resources and bring STEAM programs or STEAM plus H or STEM, however it is that we all know it, because there's variations there. But now we're working with 3 libraries, Tempe, a library in California, and a library in Michigan. Right. And it's also focusing on girls and how can we bring STEM programs to their neighborhoods, to their communities, and expand on it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam.
I just want to kind of pull back to what Devin had said a minute ago about having the leadership that reflects the community. We need people to run for boards. We need people to be active members of the schools. We need people to volunteer at the schools. We need people who are subject matter experts to volunteer with these programs that we're providing to these young people.
Now, Adam, these positions don't pay, correct? Is that one of the challenges?
It is. School board doesn't pay. It's
right.
a very high a high-stress job sometimes. Yes. And a lot of times schools, especially public schools, will be asking folks to come in and dedicate their time for free. And we have to find the right kind of people that understand that this is a community investment. Right. This is a long-term. We might not see the change immediately, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road, especially within communities of color, this state's going to flip. This is going to be a majority-minority state very, very soon. And if we're able to put in the investment right now within the leadership capacity of school boards, of school site leaders, of people who are leaders within education, principals, whatever it might be, even just classroom teachers.
Right.
We're putting people that reflect those young people, and those young people will feel empowered and want to do the same thing when they get older or do greater things than that.
Yeah. Being a leader, a lot of times it's like almost like a new thing for many of us. We we don't have that kind of culture many times in especially in minorities, you know. So it's a challenge, and it takes a lot of encouragement, a lot of support, a lot of momentum, and then programs such as the ones that we've been mentioning. Because I mean, what's the president of the Tallison, the lady that you brought to us the other day at the
Karina Madruga, yeah.
Yes, say it again, Karina
Madruga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was telling us, you know, how tough of a job it is to be a board member where you don't get paid. You still have to do your job. So my point is, it's a challenge, but we have to somehow support those that are in those positions and then encourage others to start.
Well, and I would say the concept of leadership, especially within communities of color, has been there for a very, very long time.
Right.
To Rosemary, to what you said about raising money to feed the kids, we're constantly having car washes. We're cooking food to raise money for causes, coaching sports teams, whatever it might be. That's something that's already very strong in the Latino community.
Right.
That's just leadership on a different level.
Yeah. We're going to go on break, but go ahead if you can make it
It's
short.
just a quick one. I think the best thing we can do is have leaders like Adam here actually tell us about the process and really share with aspiring people on what was the process and how did you get there.
Yes. Well, we can do that in the next.
Yeah, when we come back from our break, we'll continue talking about the importance of getting into those boards and influencing the change, given that we have 40% Latino students, and I don't think we even get close to the 15-20% range in the boards in school districts. So when we get back, we will talk about that. You're listening to 1190 AM, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, and we will be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome back to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. You can follow us on Facebook, same name, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We go live on there, or you can listen to us on 1190 AM. And back to the topic of boards and the importance of changing that concept. We have 40% population students in the state of Arizona, but very limited number of or actually leaders that are in boards.
Yeah. You know, we probably should mention a little bit of the funding problems and challenges that Arizona faces. But from what I'm hearing, it's not just about the funding. There's also leaders. I mean, leadership is a big item that we should not overlook, you know, because if you have lots of funding, but then you don't have the leadership, you're always going to be lacking on that. So let's pick up the subject again on boards, Adam, and kind of like the process of how a person becomes a board member.
So let me touch the funding part first. And I actually think that the number is higher than 40% of Latinos that are enrolled in public school because we're looking at that switching real soon. I'll give you an example for Alhambra. We are about 85% Latino. And
85%?
Yes,
Wow.
and a majority of those students, a lot of them are undocumented students, first generation. These are kids that are ending up to be kind of a pawn of the political system these days, but also kids that are most at risk. I don't like using that phrase, but I'll use it for the sake of that. And then in Alhambra, we also have about 52 different languages spoken because we have a high refugee population. Through the International Rescue Committee, when the families come here, they'll enroll in Alhambra because we are a very welcoming district and a location where there's a lot of apartments for families to get into. So there's those unique challenges that come with it. Now, to the leadership and the funding and running for school boards, number one, if you are able to vote, you need to vote. There's no question about that. That's number one, because we need legislators that are in the state legislature to understand not just about funding education, but how important it is to support those programs. We deal with everything from unfunded mandates that they say we have to do without them putting any funding behind, to sitting there and listening to these fights saying teachers work 2 jobs to buy a boat for the summertime. And this is the rhetoric and the stuff that we have to fight against. And so I think it's incredibly important that people who are eligible to vote or people who are already registered make it out for legislative elections, make it out for city council elections, make it out for every election, because we need to change the look of these boards, these commissions, these legislatures, whatever it might be, to get people that support public education and get people that support this idea of creating a stronger education system for Arizona.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, I want to build on that. Public education has been the most important aspect of allowing folks that come from lower socioeconomic strata to move up in our society. And so if we can minimize the dropout rates in our schools by providing programs that are important, then we can take a look at secondary, post-secondary education. Community colleges serve a very important need, because we'll take anyone, we assess them in their English writing skills, their reading skills, and their math skills, and then provide developmental programs in case they need that to prepare themselves for either a technical vocational program at the community college level or to transfer to the universities. Now, one more point. Funding for higher education. There is funding. People need to be aware that there's Pell Grants and there's other forms of help like college work study and student loans. They need to be aggressive about applying, doing it on time. We've got to educate our people to do that.
Yeah. You know, something came to my mind right now. And I'm going to use a phrase that, for lack of a better one, there are a lot of Latinos who have made it. Financially, they have careers. Do you believe that segment needs to become more aware of where to donate money? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people are looking for places to donate money because they can claim them on their taxes. But
I think Rosemary has a lot to say on this topic.
Yeah,
Read her face.
I mean, is that a problem? I mean, do people who have made it need to become more aware of the needs in the educational field to start to kind of donate into those pots of money?
Absolutely. In Aguila, we teach the kids. They live and they learn and they live a pay-it-forward philosophy. We want them to become philanthropic, right? If they're not working as a teacher or a social worker, that if they're working in business and they make it, that they write the check. Because truly, putting money into education and programming and helping others to rise and to be successful as well is truly an investment for all of us. When a student doesn't drop out, when a student persists and proceeds through the process of education, we all benefit.
Right.
We all have a strong economic system where we can do things. We have students, for example, who came from nothing, and through our program receive full rides, scholarships. They're buying homes now. They're investing. They're stimulating the economy. That is the greatest investment that we can make. And I can scream from the rooftops, get on corners, begging for these children because the demand is great. When I'm working in Cartwright School District and the numbers are, 80% of our children are going into the system. They're incarcerated. And I don't know about you guys, I just can't sleep at night. We have to do something. All of these children are all of our children. And so if we want good, solid leadership and they're going to sit on boards that are going to be effective, then we need to educate them.
Definitely.
And I think I want to add to what Rosemary was saying about paying it forward. I think one of the best things that I enjoy doing personally is when my husband and I actually sit down and discuss where can we give a little bit of money to every year. So the key is not, am I in the $1 million range and can I give that amount of money? Because every drop in the bucket will help.
Good.
And we have to think about how we can maybe look into making endowed professorships or endowed scholarships, or how can we give to this specific program. I think the needs that Rosemary herself was presenting, those are all needs we can come to as a community and say, we're going to go to Costco, we're going to buy water, we're going to buy pops, we're going to buy whatever it takes to make sure our kids are being taken care of. We shouldn't wait on others to take care of us, but we should really instill that mentality that we can also provide for each other and for ourselves. And how can we collectively give at a rate where those needs are being taken care of?
Definitely.
And it's so easy to give. Technology makes it easy to give.
Right.
I tell people $10 a month. It just comes right out of your checking account, right in our system. $10 a month
Right.
makes a difference versus me asking you, can you give me $120? What is just $10 a month?
Yeah.
That's a cup of coffee and a croissant at Starbucks.
You know, I'm just realizing that, and I am so happy that AARP was willing to buy into the idea that I proposed to have this platform, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, because, you know, to be frank with you, I am being paid by AARP to serve the Hispanic community, period. They hire me to do that. And to have this platform and we can use it to serve the Hispanic community is an amazing opportunity. And we are going to use this platform to do as much as we can to support, to highlight all the good stuff that is happening. I mean, even the mural later on today, that's the whole point. That mural shows success. That mural shows people who have contributed to the community. So we educate, we celebrate, and we connect. Adam.
I'd just like to add on to a couple of the statements and say that there's also this concept of time, talent, and treasure that is really, really important to pretty much any entity that needs volunteers or support. It's about donating the time that you have, donating the talent and the expertise you have, or donating the money that you have. And I think that's something that's accessible to all levels of folks. There's a really, really cool story happening in the Isaac district where they're starting a community health hub. They're starting a little resource center in a house that the district just happened to have. And I was present at one of the meetings that they were doing, and so it was filled kind of half with agency and organization representatives and half with parents. And some of the parents had just raised their hand and said, do you need yard work done? Can we come and paint? My husband's a landscaper. He's got tools. And that's really like that's a concept in a nutshell, is these folks might not be able to write that check, but they can certainly come down and give a few hours of time and expertise to the projects that are happening.
Yeah, you know, we definitely need a revolution. We need a revolution of thinking. We need a revolution of priorities, of assessment of the need and the times that we are living in today. And I think that the field of education is where everything's at. That's where the leaders are going to be, the success to make money, to fund. I mean, everything starts from education. So I'm really excited that we're addressing this. And this is not going to be the last show. So I already have two more folks with the mics already to go for it. We have 3 more minutes before we go on break. Go ahead, Dan.
Education was not available to most folks in the beginning of this country until public schools started. And then at the post-secondary level, it wasn't until the 1860s, that the Morrill Act was passed, which created the land-grant university system, which said that in every state of the union, there has to be a college or university for the common man, that it'll be inexpensive, that people can go and study agriculture and mechanic arts, and they've grown from that. But we have the U of A here in Arizona, and my alma mater, New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but there's one such college or university in every state of the union.
Excellent.
I don't even know where to go now. All these thoughts are just going through my head. But I mean, the first piece I wanted to just make sure we reinforce is how we have to prioritize education. If we're not prioritizing education, then we're not prioritizing our youth. And people need to understand what the economic factor of that is. If we are underselling our kids and underselling education, then our economy is not going to move forward. The jobs of tomorrow will come. We'll just have no one to fill them. And I think that's why we have these programs, and we need to make sure we're getting the right people in the right places, in the right situations, to make sure they're advocating and they're pushing for the agenda, not just to move Latinos forward, but to move our state forward.
Yes.
And that's what we need.
And Dr. Escalante, I think you mentioned something really important here that keeps me awake sometimes at night. What is going to happen with those students that are DACA today? If we don't educate them today, what is going to happen to our workforce 5 years, 10 years down the road? Is the United States going to have a workforce ready to compete globally?
I mean, plain and simple, I can tell you no.
No?
And it's, yeah, it's just a no. We have to be competitive. We have to be open-minded. We have to be innovative. And our entire country has been built on innovation. But then in addition to speaking about the breakthroughs that we had in education, even the GI Bill, people need to remember how that created access for so many people of color coming back from fighting for our country, and then they went into higher and post-secondary education.
Very good. Excellent topic of conversation there. We are going to have to go to a break. You're listening to 1190 AM, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We will be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome back. This is Alex Juarez. You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. And just a quick thank you again to Miguel Alonso for creating that jingle. I love listening to that jingle every time I can. So thank you so much, Miguel, for creating that for us. Adam, you had a point about DACA students and our dreamers.
Well,
right ahead.
I just wanted to throw this in, and I know that we'll speak about this in a minute too, is there's a lot of school districts in Arizona that are understanding of privilege. And those of us especially in urban districts, and people like me who are multiracial, understand the ability that we have to protect students who don't have that privilege. And my district, as well as other districts such as Towson Union with Mr. Del Palacio, and Phoenix Union, a couple other districts have passed resolutions to support undocumented students and their families. My district took it a step further, where we put policy in place to ensure that families know that they are safe on our campuses, and that if ICE was to come, they have to check in through the superintendent and our legal team. They're not just allowed onto the campuses. We want our families to know that we are a safe spot, and that we are there to provide education and opportunities for their kids. Nothing else. We are not going to allow them to be in the line of fire.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We're going to go to Devin on the following points. We just have a few more minutes, about 10 minutes before the show ends. And I want to bring in the last point that we would like to address in this program. What can parents do in the education of their children in the different scenarios? We know that our community has different scenarios. One, we have families new to the country where Spanish is primary language. We have families new to the country, but that both parents speak English and Spanish. We have scenarios where they are well-established families, but no higher education trajectory. And then we have those that are well-established families with higher education trajectory. So I imagine that not every scenario gets the same medicine, so to speak. So let's go to Devin, probably for the last time of this show. Devin, if you can just provide some concepts, what can parents do would be the questions in those different scenarios.
This all ties back into leadership, right? Having the right leadership to reflect the demographics of the students in the school system, right? If I'm a parent, I'm going to probably feel a little bit more comfortable going to the school knowing that there might be someone who speaks my language or probably looks like me that might be able to help me out and my child. And so I think it's extremely important for schools to be welcoming if we want parents to come in and get involved with their education. But again, we always encourage our parents in our school district, especially to get involved with programs like I mentioned earlier, the ASU Dream Academy, which is a great program which gives our parents all the tools and resources necessary on how to navigate the school system and really, take their involvement to the next level. Because we all know, and the research says, when parents are more involved, our students, achieve more in the classroom. So that's definitely a no-brainer. And you know what? The reality of it is we have to also have a real conversation around poverty, because there's a lot of parents who want to be involved in their students' education, but they can't afford to because they're working 2 jobs. They're working the night shift, and they're not able to come to a school board meeting, right? They're not able to visit the classroom. And so poverty is another barrier that we have to discuss, because not only is it preventing parents from getting involved, but it's also affecting our students in the classroom. If we can have all the programs in the world, but if we're not talking about meeting the social and emotional needs of our students, it's going to make it that much harder for them to succeed in the classroom.
Definitely.
And so,
If I may interject there.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Rosemary.
So Aguila does have a full-on component for parents in our parent university. In fact, Alex is one of our Aguila parents. And we do have families coming from everywhere you can imagine, where we have parents who are well-established professionals like Alex's family. We have doctors. We have attorneys. We have people who are coming from refugees. We have people who don't speak English. We have parents who may not have a third grade level education, but we invite them in. We invite them in like family. We provide them a sense of belonging and a sense of community, and they're comfortable and they trust us. I mean, I take these children on what we call a circle tour, where they visit 8 campuses in 4 days through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. And I tell these parents, they're mine now, and they trust me with their children. We go into the school districts and we provide cafecitos with the parents, and we do provide programming in both English and Spanish. We're very welcoming, and that is the key, is to make parents feel comfortable and also to bring them in, as we spoke earlier, to be a part of it, to contribute in any way that they can, whether it's donating, whether it's volunteering as a mentor, whether it's serving the food, that they're a part of it, that this is their program, that this is their family, their community, and we all work together to lift our children.
Thank you. Great.
If I may,
Go ahead,
David,
Dan.
we must remember that parents are their children's first teachers, so it's very important that they get involved even before the child is born. They can read to the child while they're in the womb. They can play music to them. It doesn't matter what languages they can speak. They can help their child learn that language or those languages and prepare them, because once they get into school, they've got to be able to learn to read really well by the 3rd grade. So there's a lot of preparation that goes before the children are even admitted into school. It's the parents' responsibility.
Good.
No, and I appreciate you saying that. One of the areas that I'm always focused on is really asset building. So it's not necessarily what your deficiencies are in life or what you deem them to be, but really what can you bring to the table and how can you bring that and incorporate into your child's learning. So I think that's a wonderful example of, do you read in Spanish? Do you listen to music in Spanish? And it's really bringing that to the table, because we know that being bilingual is a benefit now. It may have not been at some time in our country, but it is now. So how can we pass those items along to our children so it can really increase what their skill set's going to be and make them competitive?
Right.
I got a quick question for you, all the experts here. And when the parents are making a decision of where to send the kids to college, and you've gone through this, many parents that like, well, no, my daughter's not going to go to school because she needs to start working and helping in the family business, or whatever the case may be of the situation. But how do you guide them, whether it's a university, a 4-year university, or a college, and the difference between them?
Well, to your point, Alex, we certainly have parents who come in and they're so afraid, particularly with what's going on around the country on campuses, or a lot of our students are studying abroad, and you know all of the violence that's happening. Parents are afraid. So, but our children are pioneers at many of these schools. Yesterday, we had Alexa Salas come in. She was the lieutenant governor of the junior statesman program that we partner with. She went to Penn. She just graduated from Penn. She was awarded a presidential award to implement a little Aguila in Philadelphia to support Latino students. She won $100,000 to implement that program, and her team of 3 each received $50,000 for living expenses. This is a leader that we need to nurture, but she was the first in her family, and she's off to pioneer and to lead the way. There are a lot of those students in our program, and they're hungry for it. What we do is we make sure and we provide them with a lot of options. We ask them to look at different schools. We guide them. We prepare them. We have SAT Academy. We have the Parent University. We have service learning. Certainly there are a lot of opportunities that we expose them to, because the world truly is their oyster.
Absolutely.
And I just want to add a little bit to that. Obviously, I have a bias. My alma mater is Arizona State University. But, I mean, the reality is we have three very strong state universities. We have a very strong community college system, one of the largest in the country. So it's really for the parents coming as early on as possible to have those conversations. So ASU has an admissions representative at every high school. So they visit them. I should know that because I used to have to drive out all over the state, which I enjoyed. But it's really having those conversations with the recruiters, with the admissions, with the financial aid counselors, and don't let the sticker price, meaning the price of the cost to attend the university, be what scares you away. Let's have a dialogue early on. What scholarships are out there? How can you apply for Fafsa? You know, even for our DACA students, there's a lot of money that we can help connect them with, but it's really getting them connected and making sure that they apply to as many places as possible and then make an informed decision.
Do you think money scares a lot of parents away from sending their kids to, or even thinking about it?
It definitely does, but you have to also see your education as an investment.
Right.
It's easy for us to go out there and buy a car. We don't think twice about it because we see it as something that's going to get us physically from one point to another. While your education is going to do the same for the rest of your life.
A little bit of a caveat, David. I spent 10 years in student financial aid and 3 universities in 3 different southwestern states. And we need to be sure that students understand that, yes, their education is an investment, but they want to minimize the amount of student loans that they take because that can be a burden on them later on.
So
It
they have
might
to-
keep them from buying a house, a car,
Right.
you know, that sort of thing. So we need to be very careful
They have
when
to
we
be
advise them.
smart and getting the right advice to kind of follow the proper path and get the
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, here's the thing that people also need to be better educated on, and I'm glad that Rosemary's expanding to junior high because it's really junior high that's going to prepare our kids for the right path in high school. My nephew, I was on him 24/7, and thankfully he's graduating from Central High School right up the street where I went to, a fellow Bobcat, and he's going to ASU with everything paid without taking a single loan. But his merit paid off, also his low socioeconomic status paid off. So he was able to really be packaged in a way based on his grades. Sure, your grades can also get you money. And that's what you need to realize, that while you're in high school, it's not just to have fun, but it's also to build that foundation that's going to get you to where you need to be at the lowest cost possible.
And that's my mantra to the students. Repeat after me. Grades equals money. Grades equals money. That's all you're going to equals money. Study,
Your other
study, study.
your other mantra is the chancla, right?
La chancla.
Because you got to get
I
the
work on la
students going.
chancla. Yes. One of the things that we do in Aguila is that it's our exclusive. What we do is a scholarship overnight search. We call it an SOS. We do it in the fall, and then we do it again in the spring. And basically, we lock up the students. And that's where I am with them all night long. It's sleep deprivation, but they're accomplished. And when they graduate, they say, "Oh, that was my favorite event." Wow. And to date, our students have received over $95 million in private scholarships. Our students that we're graduating about 100 students every year. They average about $10 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
100 students, $10 million.
David, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before we close, we want to thank our guests. I mean, Dan Martinez, thank you so much for being here with us every single time. You've been very supportive, and your mentorship is amazing there. Adam, thank you so much for all of the leadership at HLI, at Alhambra. You're leading these students into the new generation, our new leaders, so thank you so much again. Doctor, so much. Escontrillas, yeah.
Rosemary and Devin on the phone.
Yeah, Devin on the phone. And let me just say thank you as well to your kids, because they are the behind the scenes, and maybe they should get in front of the camera so people know who they are. But thank you so much for your help, your support in
Without them, I
in
don't know what I
producing
would
the show, right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody that's watching us. This was a really important, a very informative show. We will do another show on, or several more shows on education, because it is critical to the success of Latinos, not only in the state of Arizona, but across the nation. So you're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. David?
Well, see you soon. Take care.